Welcome, everyone. Welcome to our virtual event for Compassion Pregnancy Center. I'm Dr. Mark Newman, president of Speaker for Life, and it is my honor to serve tonight as your MC for what I think you're going to find to be an exciting and a challenging event. Before we get started, though, let's pray. Father in heaven, I'd like to thank you for an opportunity for all of us to be together tonight, even if it's just virtually. I thank you for Sue Nellis and her entire crew out at Compassion Pregnancy Center. I pray, Father, that you will give them wisdom and discernment. I lift up every client that walks through our doors, that you will give them an open heart. I pray for our keynote speaker tonight, Victoria Robinson. I pray that you help her to bring her message with boldness. And Father, I pray for all of us watching tonight that you will give us eyes to see, ears to hear, and a will to do your will. We ask all of these things in the name of your precious Son, Jesus. I don't know how long something can be considered to be an unprecedented event. It just seems like everybody keeps talking about, we are living in unprecedented times. But it's been a year. It's been a whole year that centers such as Compassion Pregnancy Center, we've not been able to get into our normal venues to have our normal fundraising events. It's been a year where abortion has not only continued, but it has been deemed an essential service by the federal government, which has allowed over $600 million of taxpayer money to roll into its coffers. It's been a year where couples are experiencing this unprecedented lockdown, and a lot of women are experiencing untimely pregnancies, and they just want to know, what should they do? This woman is really presented with two competing worldviews. On the one hand, we have the abortion industry, and all they have to offer that client is death. But on the other hand, we have Compassion Pregnancy Center, and what we have to offer that woman is life. Now, I have to let you know, I think God's got this. Even in the midst of these unprecedented times, I think God's in control. You see, I think that the enemies of life believe that by shutting us off from our normal fundraising venues, they've shut us off from our supporters. But nothing could be further from the truth. In fact, through the virtue of these virtual events, we have an opportunity to show this program to more people than ever before. Now, more people than ever can get to know our ministry. More people than ever can hear the incredible message from my good friend, Victoria Robinson. And now, more people than ever can find out how to partner with Compassion Pregnancy Center to change the lives of men and women in our community and to save the lives of unborn children created in the image of God. And to show you how we managed to do all of that, I'd like to introduce our executive director, Sue Nellis.
Hello, I'm Sue Nellis, Executive Director of Compassion Pregnancy Center. I am so excited to be with you this evening, and I cannot wait until it is safe for all 600 or so of us to gather together in person. Lord willing, next year we'll be able to see you and give you a hug. In the meantime, thanks for flexing with us this year in this virtual format. Compassion Pregnancy Center is a Christ-centered outreach that empowers those facing an unplanned pregnancy to choose life. Our vision is a community that recognizes that all human life is sacred. We are passionate about equipping and empowering women and men with truth. Truth about the unborn baby developing within the woman. Truth about the importance of the dad's involvement and support, and the truth of the good news of Jesus and his saving grace. We have a dedicated board of directors, a small but mighty paid staff, and a larger talented group of volunteers. These people are all critical to the success of the ministry, but you, our team of supporters, are also essential in this life-saving ministry. Your support of this annual fundraising event provides over 1/3 of our budget each year. So thank you so much for being with us. Pregnancy resource centers have been in existence for quite some time. Compassion was incorporated in 1994, nearly 27 years ago. While our mission of equipping and empowering women experiencing unexpected pregnancy to choose life based on the foundation of God and His Word remains unchanged, how we reach clients has changed. And a critical issue that I want to talk with you about today is an increasing challenge that we face. Compassion services, all of our services, are given at no cost to our clients. We don't ever want to be able to afford an ultrasound to stand in the way of a decision for life of an unborn child. So, our medical services include no-cost laboratory quality pregnancy tests, limited 3D ultrasounds, fetal development education, and equipping women and men about the abortion procedures they are considering. All of this is done in grace, with the truth and redemption of Jesus, and without judgment and without shame. When the use of an ultrasound was first brought to pregnancy centers, that tool changed the ministry. Being able to show a woman, to show a mom and a dad their unborn baby, helped to make that first unexpected image of a pregnancy, to take it from an idea in their head that could easily be wiped away in an abortion and move it to their heart, where their baby truly belongs, as they experience the wonder of seeing their baby's heart beating. 3D ultrasound, something that we were able to add in 2017, brought that baby into even sharper focus and is an incredible tool for which we're grateful. In fact, even with the impact of COVID-19 in 2020, and so much of our state being shut down for so long, our work and the Lord's faithfulness brought 115 women who had been considering or who had already decided on abortion to choose life for their baby because of their involvement with our team. We still held last year 1,615 client visits, some of them even online. A practice will continue when this is all cleared. And we distributed over 51,000 diapers. Thank you for your support to be able to do that. We never completely shut down, even when we couldn't see clients face to face. Our other services continued as well, mentoring women and men in Bible study, equipping them to parent well and grow in healthy, God-honoring relationships, and our critical post-abortion recovery services that help women who have experienced abortion to find hope and healing. All of that continued despite the challenges of 2020. Our Lord and you were and still are faithful and committed to this life-saving ministry. But we face a new set of challenges and we need your help. It has never been more critical for us to reach our abortion-minded and abortion-vulnerable clients early in their pregnancy. When Roe v. Wade was passed into law in 1973, overriding Michigan's law and bringing legal abortion to our state and our community, the wonder of ultrasound showed women something they'd never seen before, their unborn baby. That undeniable humanity shown on the ultrasound monitor was and still is powerful. It was no longer possible to deny, just because the baby's movements couldn't yet be felt, that at 6 weeks gestation, baby is a tiny human and not just a clump of cells, as culture would have us know. And when an unborn baby's humanity is seen, well, isn't that baby ever more worthy of protection? And isn't baby's mom worthy of knowing that she can choose life and that we'll walk with her in monthly appointments at least until baby is 24 months old? Isn't she worth saving the assault of abortion? We, all of us, say yes, that is worthy. So, what is this critical issue, this increasing challenge in equipping and empowering babies' parents to choose life and support their parenting journey? That critical challenge is chemical abortion. It used to be that in order to obtain an abortion, a woman had to visit an abortion clinic, be examined by a physician, have an ultrasound to confirm how far along she is in her pregnancy, and only then would she receive the abortion procedure that was based on a physical exam. There would be an actual medical professional physically with her to assess her well-being, despite knowing of the demise of her child. Not so with chemical abortion, a method that is currently being used in 50% of abortions in the United States. 2 simple chemicals administered in pill form deny growing baby the nutrients and the substances that his or her mom's body supplies, and then causes mom's uterus to contract, expelling her deceased child. There are more details than I have time to go into, and honestly more than you likely want to hear. But there's a key takeaway. Our culture, our world, our community is now at a place where most women and men have seen ultrasound images, maybe not of their child, but of a fully recognizable unborn human, a human that we see worthy of protection. But there are now, today, repeated challenges to FDA regulations that require a woman to be physically seen by a doctor before obtaining that chemical abortion. There are challenges to allow these pills to be used later in pregnancy, increasing the risk to the woman, to say nothing of the demise of the baby. And they are increasingly available to obtain from illegal online sources. We must be positioned to reach these women earlier before they make a decision they can't take back. As pro-life laws inevitably face obstacles in the near future, we need to be sure to stay ahead and stay above the rhetoric that attempts to minimize the value of the human life in the womb. But wait, just when things look bleak, God intervenes. You'll see it more in our next newsletter. But this, for women who have taken the first pill in that chemical abortion series, who change their mind, who change their heart, abortion pill reversal is a simple yet powerful process by which about 65% of those pregnancies can be saved as long as treatment begins in the first 72 hours after taking that first pill. Our amazing medical director, a local OBGYN, is experienced in abortion pill reversal and has already delivered babies for whom she has provided this life-saving treatment. She provides this service to our clients in partnership with Compassion. Won't you please generously partner with us tonight and into the future so that we can be positioned to reach these women and help them to make a life decision. These women need the hope and the truth of all of our support, all of our hope, and all of the wisdom that the Lord provides. A favorite quote of mine, spoken by Martin Luther King Jr. in 1965 in Grosse Pointe, was on the topic of standing for the protection of others, those who need our strength, and it applies to so many aspects of life in which we must take action. It reads, on some positions, cowardice asks a question, is it safe? Expediency asks the question, is it politics? Vanity asks the question, is it popular? The conscience asks the question, is it right? And there comes a time when one must take a position that is neither safe, nor politics, nor popular, but we must do it because his conscience tells him it is right. Empowering and equipping moms and dads to choose life and parent well with needed resources is right. I'd like to introduce you to a wonderful friend who has been a client at Compassion and is also now one of our valued mentors. Darcy serves as a mentor for our women who are experiencing unexpected pregnancy and is here to share her story of hope and redemption. Darcy.
Thank you, Sue. God is so good and so faithful, and nothing can separate me from his love. He will never leave me or forsake me. These are all promises found in his word, and I believe them. He has proven himself over and over and over again in my life. I wanted to start my story on a positive note, and believe you me, it will end that way as well. But in between, well, that's a whole lot of poor choices, horrible regrets, and a whole lot of woulda, shoulda, couldas. I grew up in a Christian home and accepted the Lord Jesus Christ as my Savior as a young child. My whole life changed dramatically when I turned 11 and my dad suddenly died. I was heartbroken, angry, and I longed for the love of my daddy. Relationships with men became very skewed as I grew to be a teenager. I turned to any boy that would give me the least bit of attention. Feeling empty, alone, and facing a downward spiral, I went to talk to the only father figure I had, a close family friend whom I called Uncle. At our first counseling session, he sexually abused me. Not knowing how to process that or talk to anyone about it, I became numb and chose to act out by sleeping with anyone and everyone for years. While serving in the United States Marine Corps, I got pregnant, then married, and had a beautiful baby girl. I was divorced a short 14 months later. There was never any love. I was a single parent for 16 years. After my daughter was born, it was one of the greatest things that ever happened to me. I was so excited. I decided I wanted to raise her in the church just as my mom had done for me. I found an amazing church home and served the Lord faithfully. And life went rather well for many years. I grew to love Jesus with all my heart, and my daughter and I were so very blessed. One day at church, I looked over across the pew and I saw a really hot guy. He had long hair, he was well built, and had that bad boy vibe, just everything that I liked. I learned he was a recovering alcoholic and had a sketchy past, and it didn't appear that his future would be any brighter. He had no job, no car, not even a driver's license. All I cared about was how good he looked, so we began to date. My daughter was 12 at this point and was visiting my parents in Tennessee for the entire summer. I fell back into my old familiar habits, and once again, I found myself pregnant. The devastation and shame rocked me to my core. I was in my mid-30s. How did I not learn from the first time around? Abortion never even crossed my mind, at least not at first. Let's just say that my boyfriend chose other things over our unborn child, and I chose to never see him again. Abortion then started to become an option. I thought only of myself and how another baby would mess up life as I knew it. I made the choice to abort and never felt more regret. I was broken, empty, and alone. How could a good Christian girl who was serving Jesus so faithfully sleep with a man out of wedlock, get pregnant, abort the baby, and then just walk away from the God she adored? I never blamed God through all of this, only myself. I turned my back on my precious Heavenly Father, stopped going to church, and turned full force to the world. And what a cold, dark, and empty world it was for 15 long years. I fell into a deep depression and consumed a lot of alcohol. The consequences of my sin have affected more people than I care to count, even to this day, especially my daughter, who is now 35. Not all was lost. I did fall in love again and married the most wonderful man and had a successful career. But I never got over my past and wasn't convinced that I ever would. On Mother's Day in 2013, I felt like my chest was going to explode and ended up in the ER. I was told I was experiencing an aortic dissection and was immediately life-flighted to the University of Michigan for emergency open heart surgery. I could die. I didn't have much time before they put me under, but you better believe I did a whole lot of praying. I was questioning where I would spend my eternity, and I poured my heart out to God. I repented of all I had done and promised I would serve him the rest of my days if he would just let me live. Most people aren't thankful for this sort of surgery, but I am. God was not finished with me yet. I found an amazing church home. My husband accepted Jesus, and little by little, I started to share my story. And then I found Compassion Pregnancy Center. I was scared to death, but wondered if I could help others, help them to choose life. While training to be a mentor, I encountered so many roadblocks. The enemy did not want my story told. I learned about the post-abortion recovery Bible study called PAR, and first questioned whether or not I truly needed it. I had already asked forgiveness, turned my life back over to the Lord, and I was experiencing tons of joy. I was still, however, dealing with unresolved emotions. During the 8 weeks that I did this Bible study, God slowly and gently healed me completely from the suffering and grieving over the loss of my child. God not only forgives me of my sin, but also the guilt of my sin. Post-abortion recovery at Compassion helped me deal with all the feelings that still lingered, especially anger at myself for allowing the unplanned pregnancy to begin with, for not being strong enough to choose life, and for not trusting God, who works all things for good for those who love him. I will be forever touched by the closing PAR ceremony where I named my baby Jenna Ray, restoring dignity to my unborn child. And I will meet her again one day when I get to heaven. You see, through PAR, I'm not only a volunteer mentor at Compassion, I've been a client. Their powerful healing program helped me to break the bonds of guilt so I can live the life God intends for me to live, a life that glorifies him. If you're listening to my story and you've experienced abortion, you too can lay down guilt and shame and find healing. Don't miss this chance for healing. Contact us and we'll confidentially help you. Our theme for this event is Job 33, 29, and 30. And this is how it reads. God gives each of us chance after chance to be saved from death and brought into the light that gives life. He not only saved me from physical death, he saved me from spiritual death. I want this full life. Chance after chance for women and men experiencing unexpected pregnancy, and for those who have experienced the wound of abortion. Please partner with us tonight. The need is great, and I'm so blessed to be able to say, my name is Darcy Johnson, and I am forgiven and set free.
I'd like to take just a moment to thank Sue Nellis. Sue, thank you so much for your leadership. Thank you for sharing the vision of Compassion Pregnancy Center. It is now my pleasure to introduce you to tonight's keynote speaker, Victoria Robinson. Victoria Robinson is an author, speaker, and pro-life leader who has spoken all over the world. She equips her listeners to engage the culture of abortion and passionately encourages men and women suffering from a past abortion to seek post-abortion counseling. Victoria co-hosts the podcast Contagious Influencers of America for Keep the Faith Radio, and her book, They Lied to Us, shares the stories of post-abortive women and how abortion forever altered their lives. For 20 years, she was the CEO of 3 separate pregnancy resource centers where she counseled thousands of women who were contemplating abortion. Her own abortion story is featured in a Harmon Brothers documentary, garnering over 10 million views to date. Victoria has been conducting post-abortion recovery retreats for over 15 years to bring much-needed healing to post-abortive women and men. Throughout her career, she has determined to shift the paradigm regarding how others view the abortion issue by using facts, education, love, compassion, and action. Please welcome Victoria Robinson.
Hi, thank you so much for being here. I am honored and privileged to get to speak to you and share my heart with you and my passion for the work that I've been involved with now for over 24 years. And thank you to Compassion Pregnancy Center for having me and allowing me to be here with you to share my heart. There's so much going on today in the world of pro-life, as I'm sure that you're full aware. Every time you turn around, you're hearing something about the abortion issue. Today, more than ever, centers like Compassion Pregnancy Center are vital to our communities. And so I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your busy schedules to be here with us and just to hear what they're doing and all the great things that are going on and how you can get involved, which you'll get to find out soon. My name's Victoria, as you heard, and I have been honored to get to share my story with thousands and thousands of people across the country. As a matter of fact, I think one of the testimonies that I've given has, last count, millions and millions of views that people are watching online. And that tells me that there are a lot of people curious today more than ever about this very issue of pro-life and abortion. And the reason that I'm able to share with you from my heart is because I experienced my own story over 30 years ago when I was a single mother with 2 small children, and my husband decided he didn't want to be married anymore. He just came to me and said, I'm moving away, and said goodbye to me and a 9-month-old and a 3-year-old, and he went to the other side of the country. I was in North Carolina at the time, and he went as far away as he could to California. Now, I was a very young single mother now, and I had not worked before and found myself working 2 jobs just to make ends meet and feed these 2 children that I had who were looking for me to take care of them. So without any support from him, financially, emotionally, in any way, I had to look in the faces of these 2 little girls and make them promises that I needed to keep. And one of those was, you're going to be safe. Mommy's going to take care of you, and I'm going to be here for you and make sure you have everything that you need. Even if it was on my own, I was determined to do it. And it wasn't easy. It's not easy being a single mother. My heart goes out to single mothers because I've been there. Well, about a year after my husband decided he did not want to have our family anymore, we went through a divorce, and my self-esteem was shot to pieces. I felt that I was so unworthy of anyone. And I was really in a bad place. I was devastated. I didn't feel good about who I was. As I said, I was working 2 jobs trying to make ends meet with these 2 little girls who depended on me. So when the first guy that came around and started saying all the things that a young woman in my position, in my situation, needed to hear and thought that's what she wanted to hear, it was easy to fall madly in love with him. And I did. I met a man who was coming to my health club. That was one of the jobs that I was doing. And we got very serious very quickly. And 9 months into the relationship, I discovered that I was pregnant. Now, I knew the outcome of a pregnancy because I was already a mother to 2 children. So it wasn't like no one had to convince me what would happen 8 months from then. I knew. I already had 2 children. So when I told my boyfriend at the time that I was pregnant, I expected him to not be doing cartwheels or be excited about it because we weren't married. We were dating. We had been dating. We had talked about marriage. We talked about a future together, and we talked about having children together, but this wasn't the best timing for either one of us. But I can tell you that I never, ever in a million years thought the first word out of his mouth would be, I think we need to consider abortion. I had friends who'd had abortions in the past. I had one friend who'd had 7 abortions, and we used to get in arguments about it because I didn't understand how she could reconcile that. And now here I was, a single mother with 2 little girls to take care of, without a husband, who had a boyfriend telling her she should consider abortion. So when I called the abortion clinic in Charlotte, North Carolina, to ask the woman there at that abortion clinic and what she thought I should do, and ask her what did she think about my situation, I didn't call my mother. I didn't call any of my friends. I was too embarrassed. I was too ashamed. They knew how I was already struggling. So the last thing that I wanted to do was tell them that I had gotten myself in this kind of situation. So when I called the woman at the abortion clinic, she explained to me that since I was so early in my pregnancy, there was nothing there. Nothing more than a blob of tissue or a clump of cells. She told me that we just need to get you in quickly so we can take care of this right away, and then you can go on your way and have children later. So on a Saturday morning, I decided she was right, my boyfriend was right. I was only about 6 weeks pregnant. I needed to get this done before this blob of tissue became human. So on a Saturday morning, I hired a babysitter to take care of my 2 young children, my 2 daughters. I kissed them goodbye. I told the sitter I'd be back in a few hours. I was going shopping at the mall, and I drove the 30 minutes to the abortion clinic. From the time I went from my apartment to the abortion clinic, I can remember having my hand on my stomach and talking to this blob of tissue, this clump of cells, and telling this unborn thing that I was carrying how sorry I was for what I was about to do. I was in tears as I just spoke to this person inside of me that I know now at the time was an unborn child of my own. That the best thing for you would be for me to go through with this, because you don't want to be brought into this mess, this chaotic life of mine right now. And this is the best decision for you and for your sisters. Please forgive me. Isn't it interesting to ask someone for forgiveness for something we're not supposed to be doing that's supposedly wrong? Yet that's what was in my mind, was begging for forgiveness. When I drove into the parking lot of the abortion clinic, there was no one there. There were no picketers. It was just an empty lot with maybe 3 or 4 cars on this Saturday morning. I've since learned those were the days that they performed abortions at this abortion clinic in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I walked in, uneventful, went up to the 4th, 5th floor of the building, this big, tall, white building. And on the way up, I kept talking myself into what I was about to do. This is for the best. This is for the best for everybody involved. It's not a big deal. It's legal. It's not going to harm you in any way. You're going to be fine. Let's just get this over with and get back home to the girls. And I walked into the abortion clinic, and the room was filled with people. There were women everywhere, and they weren't looking at one another. Everyone was looking down or flipping through magazines, just pretending they were reading an article, but no one looked around. It was interesting because we were all there for the same reason, and we knew why we were there. But nobody wanted to look at each other or talk to one another. They called my name into the room, and I walked in. I used a fake name, and it was the same woman across the desk from me that I had spoken to on the phone earlier in the week who secured my appointment. And I was crying, and I was still unsure, and I told her, I said, am I doing the right thing? Are you sure this is the right thing? And she took my hand in hers, and she said, oh, you're going to be fine. You're so early in this pregnancy. It's not really anything there. Nothing more than like I told you on the phone, but a blob of tissue, a clump of cells. It'll be like pulling a tooth or getting a tumor removed. You're going to be fine. You're so young. You can have more children later. Leave here and never think of this again. Well, that was one of the many lies I was told that day, because I never thought of anything else for over a decade. And then I handed her $350 cash. That was the price of the life of my child. And this kind, compassionate woman took the money from my hand, put it in her money drawer, then turned to me and said, if you change your mind when you're on that table, we don't give refunds here, so you don't get your money back. Now just go to the next room until they call you back. And I walked out and sat and did as I was told. They called me into the next room, which was the procedure room, as they call it. It's interesting because if they said to a woman sitting in an abortion clinic, hey, we're going to take you in this room now to kill your baby. We're going to take you in this room now to end the life of your child. We're going to take you in this room now, and something that we're going to do to you is going to affect you for the rest of your life. Maybe women would think twice about walking into that room. But they didn't. They called me into the next room for my procedure and instructed me to get on the examining table. The doctor would be in a moment. They asked me to undress and then had me lay down on the table and scoot all the way down. The doctor walked in, and I was crying again and looking at the ceiling. I wanted to scream to get out. I knew that these people didn't care about me. I felt it inside, that it was just like I was just another person. I was just in this long line of women that this doctor was visiting in each room. And the words wouldn't come. I couldn't even speak. I was paralyzed with fear, and I was paralyzed to say anything for fear of angering them, for fear that I'd be making the wrong choice, because they told me this was the right choice. And they told me I'd be a very selfish mother to have another child when I could barely feed the two that I had. Wouldn't that be so selfish of you, Victoria? You don't want to do that to your children. You're a good mother. So I allowed them to end my child's life on a cold table in an examining room in Charlotte, North Carolina. And it didn't take very long. The machine was loud. I didn't know everything that was happening at the time. I do now. And after it was over, the doctor turned to leave. He didn't even speak to me. And I called after him as he was leaving and said, excuse me. Can you tell me what it was? Was it a boy? Was it a girl? What was it? And he turned and said, I don't have time for this. Of course I couldn't tell. You're too early. And he walked out and slammed the door. They took me into the next room, the recovery room, which was filled with cots after cots and beds after beds. Everywhere there were women. You look to the right, you look to the left. Everywhere someone was lying on one of these makeshift beds. And the wailing and the crying and the look of shock on so many faces. I will never forget it. They gave me 2 Tylenol and said, take these and wait 30 minutes and then you can leave. I lasted maybe 5. I grabbed my things and said, you can't hold me. I have to get out of here. I got my things together, dressed, and I left. And I can tell you that as soon as I walked on that elevator, the same elevator that had just a couple hours brought me into that building, I knew that my life would never be the same. I knew that I wasn't the same, and I knew something had just happened inside of me, and I didn't know how I was ever going to fix it. So I got out of there and I drove home to my beautiful daughters, and they had no idea what I had just done. And I curled up in bed and stayed there for a week or 2. And I didn't tell anybody. I just lied and said I didn't feel well. My boyfriend and I didn't make it, because 9 out of 10 times where an abortion occurs, couples don't make it. It's too traumatic of an experience staying together. I never looked at him the same. He never looked at me the same. I think he probably wondered, she actually did it. And I know that I wondered as I looked at him, how did you not protect me? I thought you loved me. So it destroyed our relationship. So women are having abortions to keep their boyfriends or their husbands happy, to satisfy everything that everyone else wants. But then what happens is those relationships are destroyed because it's just too traumatic. And that other person's a constant reminder of the choice that you made. So for over 10 years, I kept my secret until I got sick and tired of living with it. And over again, I kept running into this woman who was the executive director of the pregnancy center in the town where I lived. And she just was so kind and always inviting me to come and volunteer at the local pregnancy center. And I kept telling her, I will, one day I will. And then I was thinking, oh my gosh, Lord, are you trying to torture me? You want me to go work at a pregnancy center so I can be reminded of what I've done? I know what I've done. I know it's something I have to live with and I have to bear for the rest of my life. It's my punishment for the choice that I made. But when I finally couldn't take it anymore, I went to that pregnancy center and I sat down with that executive director. And I said, I have a confession I need to make to you because I need help. I had an abortion. And how can God ever forgive me? How can God ever use me? How can I ever feel worthy of anything? And then I got in after abortion recovery because that precious woman looked at me and said, now we're going to see how God is going to take what the enemy meant to destroy you and turn it into good. And that's what he's done. And that happened over 24 years ago when I met that precious woman who helped me go through after abortion recovery, and it changed my life. And I remember going on that Thursday night to that first session and saying to those facilitators, I'm here, but you're not going to be able to help me. I've been living with this and dealing with this for over 10 years, but I'm here. And they said, well, we're just glad you showed up. And then God showed up and changed everything. There are millions of people that were just like me right now today. Since Roe v. Wade, there have been 64 million abortions that we know of. That's 128 million men and women walking around dealing with the shame and the guilt, the condemnation that they put on themselves because they chose abortion. And they're not telling anyone because they're afraid. They're afraid of being rejected. They're not even telling their pastors because of the fear that the church would turn their back on them. And we've got to be better than this. We've got to make sure that these men and women know there is life after an abortion. God does forgive. And that's what I love about centers like Compassion Pregnancy Centers. They're making a difference in the lives of so many people with their after abortion care, with their help that they're offering people that were just like me. But what they're doing is they're even helping that young woman before she makes that choice, to tell her about her options so that she knows abortion doesn't have to be her choice, because we can walk alongside with you and help you so that you're not like Victoria, living with what she had to live with for all those years. The post-abortive man or woman like me can be forgiven and accept God's forgiveness for having an abortion, but it's always there. Just like an alcoholic who's reformed doesn't walk into a bar because he or she may still crave the drink, but they're reformed so they don't take it. A post-abortive man or woman still longs to hold that baby, but they know God's forgiven them, and then they know they can function and they can use their pain to help somebody else. So that's why I have been dedicated to pregnancy centers across the country ever since I walked in to a pregnancy center myself, and it changed my life forever. Because they're out there. Those men and women are out there. And we need to reach them at that point of decision before they make a choice like I made. Most of them just need to know somebody will walk through it with them, and that they do have other options besides abortion. And that's what Compassion Pregnancy Center does. That's how you can help them continue to do the work that they're doing, by partnering with them in making a difference in the lives of so many. You know that last year was a tough year for pregnancy centers across the country because of all of the restrictions that were put on, but they never shut their doors because they knew there would still be young women finding themselves in pregnancies that needed help. And they needed to know there was a safe place to go where they could get that help. And that's where Compassion Pregnancy Center comes in. With all the different programs that they offer, and I want to make sure I get them right, they offer a men's program. They're medical, so they give free ultrasounds. Do you know that 9 out of 10 times in some pregnancy centers, when a woman sees her baby on an ultrasound, she will choose life? It's hard to deny a heartbeat, arms and legs. It's hard. It would have been difficult to tell me that was a blob of tissue or a clump of cells had they showed me an ultrasound and I saw my baby's heartbeat. You can't deny life in the womb. The ultrasound was the greatest gift we've ever been given, because it's a window into that mother's womb to show that life is growing inside her body. And then that mom makes that connection between her head and her heart. And the numbers are as high as 9 out of 10 are choosing life rather than abortion. The other programs they offer, they have a baby boutique for moms to shop and get the things that they need. And they use that from going to the education classes and earning the different kinds of benefits they get to go into the baby boutique to get those things they need, like diapers and baby clothing, car seats, cribs, all the different things that they're going to need for that child. They can find it at Compassion Pregnancy Center. I mentioned after abortion recovery. This is critical for so many people. And this is also one of the greatest things that's ever happened in the work of pro-life is the abortion pill reversal, which they offer at Compassion Pregnancy Center. So when that woman goes to an abortion clinic and she's taken that first pill and she's changed her mind, she can call them and say, I've changed my mind, can you help? And they can. So many babies have been saved from the abortion pill reversal. So that's another gift that's offered at Compassion Pregnancy Center. So you have a chance to partner with them to make a difference. Maybe you'll never be in a counseling room and counseling a young woman who's in a crisis pregnancy on her options. Maybe you'll never be a facilitator at an after-abortion recovery. Maybe you won't. Maybe you'll be praying every day, which I know they would covet your prayers. But this is a way now that you can partner with them today. I don't need to beg and I don't need to plead you to give. You know, if you turn on the television, if you hear anything amongst your friends at work, you know now is the most critical time that we've ever been in, that the fight for life is greater than it's ever been today. And if we all do our part, we can make a difference in the lives of so many people. And how can you put a price tag on one life? You can't. As a Christian, I know that my child is with Christ, and I know I will see my child again. As a Christian, I know that today, when close to 3,000 children, 3,000 unborn children will be aborted, they are with Jesus. But we must remember that leaves 6,000 parents left behind who are dealing with the ramifications of their choice. And those parents matter just as much as that unborn child. I'm going to tell you this last story, and then I want to show you how you can partner with us tonight. After I went through healing, through after abortion recovery, I wrote a book called They Lied to Us. And I shared stories of women who had chosen abortion, why they chose, and how they came to that decision, and how God reconciled them, and my own stories in that book. And I decided I should call the father of my aborted child because we knew a lot of the same people. And even though I changed anything in the book that would give his identity away, I felt like he needed to know. And when I called him, it had been over 10 years since we spoke, because we had broken up and went our separate ways and had not spoken since. When he heard my voice on the phone, he knew it was me, and he began to weep. He said, I've been waiting for this call for over 10 years to beg you for forgiveness for what I made you do. It has haunted me all this time, and I've been in therapy for 8 years dealing with it. Can you please forgive me? I knew in that moment that I hadn't fully forgiven him, and I did. Right in that moment, I forgave him. But the second thing that happened was I realized men are hurting too. We cannot make this issue all about women. These babies had fathers, and these fathers are hurting as well. They are walking wounded all around us, just like these women. And that's why I'm so excited to see that Compassion Pregnancy has a men's program as well. And they're letting men know you matter too. Your role matters. So I'm going to give you an opportunity now. We are going to give you an opportunity to partner with Compassion Pregnancy Center tonight. And this is how it's done. I believe this is the most important part of right now. And as I said, I'm not going to beg, I'm not going to plead. I think you already know the need is great. So I don't think I need to do that. But this is the most important part of tonight. Compassion Pregnancy Center needs you. They need your prayers and they need your financial support. So, right now, take a second and look below. You're going to see a Print Pledge Form button. So you can go ahead and print that out now if you want to. Or maybe you already have one. One was mailed to you or you picked one up and you have a form. It looks something like this. And you have it in your hands right now, or you're printing it as we speak. And I just want to walk through it quickly with you. I won't go through every single part. But as you can see, you're going to fill out your personal information at the top. And there's many, many boxes listed. So you're going to check one of those boxes, my investment tonight. And just go ahead and check one of those now. Now, if you don't have a sheet, if you want to give online, you can go to the left and click the Donate Now button to give online. You can do that right now. Now, I also want to talk to you about not only your generous gift that you're going to be giving this evening, but I'm going to also ask you to commit to a monthly giving. And you'll see that as well on the sheet where you can check there how much you want to give. I would like to make an ongoing gift of blank per month or blank per quarter. And let me tell you why that's so important. Your generous gift tonight is critical to the work of Compassion Pregnancy Center. But the monthly giving continues your partnership with them, and it also helps them to know and to budget for what they need to do, for the work that they have coming, or for the things that they know that they need to meet the needs of either clients or operational costs. It's very critical to have those monthly partners. So I want to say thank you for your generous gift tonight and also your monthly commitment, because they are both just as important. And as part of the appeal, we really need you to and want you to host a watch party for us. And Mark is going to be coming up in just a moment to tell you how you can do that. I want to thank you again for being here. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you for getting behind the amazing, incredible work of Compassion Pregnancy Center. God bless you.
Thank you, Victoria. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for the vision you cast this evening. I hope we all caught it, and now we are ready to act. There's just 3 things remaining to be done. First of all, right below the screen, maybe you made the screen really, really big, so now would be a good time to minimize it. You're going to see 3 buttons right below the screen. The one in the middle says Print Pledge Form. Now, many of you received pledge forms in the mail. Some of you received pledge forms at a watch party. But if you don't have a pledge form, you can click on this button and you can download a pledge form. It looks like this. All you have to do is make sure you fill out the pledge form completely. Get your contact information here, do your one-time investment, and remember, you also want to do a recurring monthly investment. It's not an either-or proposition. It's a both and. And then when you're done, get your credit card or your check information filled out, put this in the envelope, get the envelope addressed, get a stamp on it, and let's get these out in the mail tomorrow morning so that we can get these funds to use to save lives right here in Clinton Township. Now, some of you are saying, wait a minute. I don't want to use a pledge form. I know that there's a Donate Online Now button right over here to the left, and there is. You can go ahead and click on that button. All you need to remember is You'll need to fill out all of your information once and then click on Submit. But then you're going to need to go that extra mile in order to be able to give a recurring gift. You're going to have to go back through the portal and then fill all of your information out again. But this time, click on the button that talks about providing a recurring gift. Finally, you'll notice down below the screen over here to the right, you're going to see a button that says Host a Watch Party. We are counting on you to host a watch party. Watch parties are the way that we can make this entire event go viral. More people will have an opportunity to see this event if you host a watch party than have ever seen it before in the entire history of our center. But we need you to host one, and it's really, really simple to do. All you have to do is click that button, fill out some information, and we will send you information. There are 3 different ways that you can host a watch party. First, you can host a watch party old school. That just means call some friends up, bring them over to the house, feed them pizza, do a DoorDash, I don't know, but feed them. And then you can sit down together and watch the program. Maybe you've already printed out pledge forms to hand out. Secondly, some of you have friends that are scattered around. Maybe we aren't comfortable meeting together. In that case, what you're going to want to do is do online with chat. You can all watch the program together, and then while the program's rolling out, you can chat to each other in the chat bar over here to the side. And then finally, once our congregations are comfortable meeting back together again, we can host a church-wide watch party, and this is the best way to introduce your entire congregation to the work of Compassion Pregnancy Center. But we are counting on you to do it. If you do, we're going to be able to raise the kind of revenue that we need to make Compassion Pregnancy Center the first choice that women experiencing untimely pregnancies think about. But we're counting on you. Click on the button. We'll send you the information. Now, as we prepare to close, let's go back to the Lord in prayer. Father in heaven, I thank you once again for a great opportunity for all of us to get together and learn about the work of Compassion Pregnancy Center. Thank you for Sue Nellis and her crew, for all of the work that they do. Father, finally, I just pray for all of us watching tonight. I pray that you will give us a will to do your will so that we can help Compassion Pregnancy Center positively impact the lives of men and women in our community and save the lives of unborn children who are created in your image. We ask all of these things in the name of your Son, Jesus. Amen. Once again, I'd like to thank all of you for watching. May God bless you, and through you, bless others.